You're on camera, so you don't hear when I hear home.
We start again, yes. Yeah, on YouTube. There you go.
Call the meeting to order. We have roll call, please.
Dwight Roth.
Here.
Scott Duffner.
Here.
Preston Pico.
Here.
Mark Harris.
Here.
Ian Jansen, not here. Mike House.
Here.
Sam Dinsdale. Here. Josie Tobiasen. Here. Roger Woodnoya.
Present.
Stacy Pyatt. Here.
Well, I guess we need approval of the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at it? Are there any changes?
We do pledge of allegiance. Remember?
It is or what? Wasn't on my list. We can. Let's
We
do it.
do it.
Oh, it was. It's in the old letter.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My apologies.
I didn't see the email.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Second.
Perfect. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. So the next thing we gotta do is elect new budget committee officers, chairman and the vice chair. Are there any nominations for chairman?
We have a fairly experienced chairman on the committee.
Yeah, I would hate to see that experience go out the window. Mike, would you be willing to still be chair?
Nobody else wants to do it, I guess. It's fine.
I'll nominate Mike Helm for chairman. Second.
Since there's no other one to vote for, so all in favor of me? Perfect.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike.
Need a vice chair. We have a nomination or volunteer.
Who's your current vice chair?
It was Troy Vine.
Oh, okay.
I think Stacy took her spot, or no, you didn't.
I think I took Scott's,
Oh,
finishing his.
Roger?
Yeah.
All right. I'll move to nominate Roger Woodnoya for the vice chair.
Been moved and seconded for Roger for vice chair. All those in favor? Motion carries. Josie.
Okay.
Well, if that's all we had to do, then I turn it over to Gail. She can do her business.
Actually, Gil's gonna turn it over to Monica in just a sec. She's prepared a document, I will say that follows the format with which you're familiar, because you have all indicated that you like it, and appreciate that. So I will let her go over this. She's prepared to do that. And if you have any questions, you can just ask. Go ahead. Okay. So. They're not number 1. Page 4, that's our estimate from the state school fund. Looks like there's several red arrows on it. So what they're proposing, and they have absolutely no idea if this is what it's gonna be or not, is 11.359 million. And our share of that, they are looking at down here at the bottom, number 9, 3,958,992. So that's our portion of it, if it stays like that. And just so, especially the new people know, it doesn't matter really what happens at our school. We could have changes, and yes, it would change, but that number is based upon every school in Oregon. So if a big school has even kind of a small change, it really messes with our numbers. So we don't know what's gonna happen, but again, we have no idea right now. We don't know anything. They think this might be a good number, and I say might, and then they don't know anything with the grants yet either. They gave us estimates, and those are the estimates I used in this budget. But my thought is, we are gonna have to adopt a budget before they know anything. And then we'll have to have supplemental budget meetings in the fall, once we know what our numbers are gonna be, different things we need to cut and all that good stuff, so.
Have they given you,
So-
they haven't given you any indication on when they'll have?
No, it, like I said, it's kind of gotten quiet. They haven't really said anything, but nothing's been.
Yeah.
Nothing's been said.
They are telling us that they probably won't even have information until after June 30th, which is when we have to have our budget done. So that's, we might have to wait for a while. And if you look back on the budget message page, I don't want to read all of that to you, but I just want you to look at the figures on the second page of that. I'll just back up for just a second, Martha. And notice that when we're talking about revenue, almost 71% of our general operating fund is provided by the state of Oregon. What's complicating this is what's going on at the federal level, because with the federal level, Department of Education in a state of disarray and perhaps being disassembled is a good way to put it. That's leaving the state not knowing how much of that they're going to need to backfill. What exactly are they going to take away, reduce, eliminate? State doesn't know that, and that's why this is really unusual a year, because they just don't know what holes they're going to have to fill with the money they have. So that's kind of why we're in a state of flux, not knowing exactly what our situation is going to be. And because they don't know what is going on at the federal level, state doesn't know what to tell us. That's why the delay. We never usually are in this situation. This is unusual and it's nothing to do about it. And it's really no fault of the states either. They're trying to scramble around and figure out what they're going to do. Out of what fund are they going to pull how much money? Because as you know, they have rainy day funds, savings funds, contingency funds, all of this, and they're trying to figure out, okay, if this happens, then we can pull this from here and this from here and this from there, and that those are the kind of conversations they're having out at the state level. But they don't know the numbers that they're working with either. So if you look at the second page on this, you'll see what is a guess on our revenue. And the total budget that we're going to talk about has general fund of 9,860,000, other funds 2,446,000. That's the number that's in question, because if you notice that all other funds, the Title I, IDEA, REAP, those are all federal funds. Okay, so those are the ones so that figure might vary some for us there as well. The total budget we're going to talk to you about tonight is $12,306,000. And then you'll see a number below that, $482,000 is right now the total of grant funds that we have accounted for in this budget.
No, that's just.
Well, those listed though, the big ones.
Yeah.
There are others. But the literacy grant, student investment account, SSA summer programs, those are the three of the bigger ones that we have, and they total that amount. So she's right, there is more in there than that, if you count in all the federal grant funds.
But these grants are
Pretty solid.
pretty solid.
Pretty
They're not
solid
federal.
because they're
Okay.
state funds, not federal funds, okay? Then you look at, I don't know if it's interesting to you, but if you look at the number 1 and 2, K6 ratio of teachers to students, 16.3 students to 1 teacher at the K6 level, 11.31 at the 7 through 12 level. We all always put that in there just for your information. And again, I don't need to read all of that to you, but I just want you to know it's kind of in a state of flux. So anyway, and does anybody need to, I usually run down through this funding formula. Does anyone want to hear that, or do you all know how that works? Does it matter to you, or do you want to spend time on that, or keep going? You tell me. You all okay with it? Okay. Then Monica, you can keep going forward then with going through the budget.
Hey, Gail, I had mentioned, I'm happy not going through that, but like, if you guys haven't sat through many of these, it'd be interesting to sit down with Gail later, have her
Yes.
explain this page. Because it is interesting. It takes
Yeah.
20 minutes.
It takes a while. That's why I asked,
Yeah.
trying to be respectful of everyone's time too.
Yeah.
So yes, be happy to explain that.
This page you're talking about?
Yeah. Even at the end of the meeting, if you want me to.
Lines, yeah.
Yeah, even at the end of the meeting, I'd be happy to go with you if you want to. So. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So the budget we're proposing is the 12,306,000, a little bit less than last year. with the hiring of, an ag teacher, we're gonna save about 100,000 on that in the general fund. So it'll actually be 12,206. But we didn't make any changes to this because, like I said, we're gonna have to dig into changes later. So we have to, what I put in here for that 12,306,000 is everything that we would deem to be good for the year. Obviously, not as high on the agriculture portion of it, but just know that we're gonna save 100,000 here. So that budget's actually gonna be 12. That's a good thing, right, everybody?
So by hiring an ag teacher, how are we saving 100,000?
When I budgeted, I still had the ag in the classroom teacher in the grant.
Okay.
And I had an ag teacher and I didn't know what we would hire and who would apply. And so I took it clear down to the bottom right hand side and budgeted. I was very
Like a very
conservative in my
experienced-
budget.
A
Yeah.
very experienced
Yeah.
teacher is what she budgeted.
So when we got this person, they're at the very top in the middle of the thing, and so we're gonna say the person that's the ag in the classroom is pretty high. So getting rid of that, which is only half-time, but it's still quite a bit, it's like $72,000. So we'll get rid of that, and then what I budgeted for with the FFA days and stuff too, was like 158,000. And it's really only gonna cost us about 124,000, so, and part of that will now go into the grant, because part of the ag in the classroom portion of it will go into the grant.
Okay.
So we'll save the general fund side. I just would rather have, made sure we were covering our costs. That's
Yeah.
okay.
So are you gonna go through this page by page? Monica?
Well, I don't,
You guys want her to go through this page by page? Monica is learning as we do this. So
I don't
what you want her to
think you
do.
guys want to go through 100 pages.
Yeah, well,
So,
why don't you just go through kind of like categories of it? at
right,
least,
so go,
And explain to them
yeah,
what we have.
so go to this page.
Which number is that?
Exactly. That's on count 1, 2, 10, 11, page 11. Changes within the general fund budget and sideways. Go back.
You made it to this page, you went too far, right?
Yep,
One before that.
unless you got this on a sequence.
Yeah, and right up here at the top, it says changes within the general fund budget.
There it is. Got it right. There you go. So this is just the general fund and what the changes from last year's budget to this year's budget would be. In the elementary instruction section, it's mostly salary increases. And then also an increase in the line item for substitutes with substitutes. Middle school instruction, same thing, salary increases. Middle school extracurricular, Preston was looking at this, the middle school extracurricular and the high school, they both went down. That's because she was a little high budgeting on, the salaries in the high school one for some reason, compared to what actuals are. And then, she put the transportation in there for the trips. And I'm putting them all into transportation. And then what the state does is we look at the amount of miles that we took for trips and we subtract out $1.60 from what our transportation portion of it. So it turns out, I'm gonna do some spreadsheets, to keep track, but I think that'll be a better way to save us a little.
That's-
Is that supposed to be 2025 there on those two explanations there?
2550.
Probably. the-
2550 is the code for transportation,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
transportation services. Sorry, I should have put that. And then the high school instructional, that was increases, and then I included that big ag teacher, so that's gonna go down. Preschool programs is a little less,
So what would that roughly go down to?
I
The
think
high
around 100. I'm sorry, the increase would be around 24,000, so that would go
Okay.
down to 800.
You can almost,
It's right at 100.
okay.
Resource room, special education, that increase is just net payroll cost increases for everyone that's working in that section. Guidance services counselor, that one went down a little bit because they budgeted last year because they didn't know who they would end up hiring. They hired someone that was a little lower in the salary schedule. Fees are all staying the same. Special education director, salary increase. Educational media services, that's the library. Salary increases. Instructional staff development, this is the professional development for teachers. So that went up a little bit. The board stayed the same. Executive admin, this is Gail's section. Salary increases. Office of the principal, same thing, salary increases. Fiscal services, that is the office, our office, 3 of us. That's salary increases for the 3 of us. Risk management services, that's your liability insurance. And I did an 18% increase, and we got a letter the other day that says 18, and they think it's gonna be 18.5 now. But well, last time I talked to them, they didn't even know, they said they wouldn't know until June, what their increases were actually. So it could even go higher than that. So I might be a little low there. Plant operation, this is Barry's domain. So we got salary increases in there. We have an insurance increase. I put in the alarm panel. So that's around $45,000. That's the one that,
The fire.
yeah, it could last years, it could last months. We don't know. And so I thought, well, we'll just put it in there, and if something happens, we can replace it. That's the biggest cost that I know of right now. The lift, he's still looking, trying to find one that's around $10,000. So I think that. Water heater and locker rooms, that's a for sure. The one that's in there is at the same age as the one that was in the kitchen. So it's from 1994. So they're gonna replace that with that one. And then the snow pusher for the tractor. And I think he budgeted that around 5%. Transportation services, you see that one actually went down a little bit. What they had budgeted last year, again, they didn't know what it was gonna cost because we were switching back into taking it in internally from first student. So they budgeted what they thought, but it's turning out to be a little less than what they had budgeted. So, and I just took those numbers and moved forward with it. If, you know, we have a huge breakdown that we're probably falling apart. Technology services. So that one went way down because we're not going to be having that $26,000 tech contract anymore because Nick has graduated and ready to take over. The interfund transfers, you can see this one went way up. That's because that SCA grant that we got for purchasing local minimally processed food. This year it was, I think, 115,000. That one went away. They're not doing it next year. So we're gonna have to come up with some.
SCA stands for what?
SCA stands for,
Something to do with food.
yeah,
Yes,
It's like a state deal or?
no, it's federal.
oh, you would ask that, Roger.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I'm total ignorance.
Well, it was a state grant or a federal grant that allowed us to buy locally, right?
It's
Like
local,
frozen and.
local minimally processed
Minimally
foods. Yes, is what it was for.
So we're not counting that because of the
It went away.
questionable.
Yeah, it went
Totally
away.
went away.
It went away. So we will not get that 150,000 this next year.
That was not even questionable. It's just gone.
That's gone.
Yeah,
That was one of the federal police.
So that's kind of the differences, summary style in the general fund. I don't know if you guys want to dig into the other funds or not. The grants starting at 200.
oh, here it is, right, the supply chain assistance. That's what it was.
So it was part of the, you know, when everything, when you were having to, you know, buy toilet paper and hoard it because there were.
Yes.
Costco.
So is it still free lunch for everyone?
Still
That's-
free lunch for
it's still-
But unfortunately, the amount they give us per meal doesn't cover our salaries.
Yeah.
The state has been, so the Fed gives us so much, and then the state was covering up to 90%, I believe. After that, of the actual cost of the meal, what they consider a cost of the meal. And the state, the last 2 quarters has actually been taking that up to 100%. So they've been giving us a little more. I don't know if they'll continue to do that this year.
So what number are we going to now?
The 200s, so special. Yeah, we-
2,000?
it's,
It's in this.
it looks like.
Yeah,
this.
so we're all done with general funds.
So I learned something today on each number in this packet.
Page, yeah, page numbers. I think we've done that before. Ring the bell. I think we've not had page numbers on this. It's troublesome. Okay. Yeah.
You can, now you can look on this.
Yes, this one tells
can.
you exactly what's in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what you're looking for is 209?
Yep, 209 was our first one.
And I'll just say that with regard, we're kind of skipping through this a little quicker because I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel that we need to hit kind of just the main topics and not get very too far into the weeds. I think we can go deeper into the weeds when we get the final numbers, because then it'll kind of make more sense and our numbers will be more real and realistic. So, but just know that when you're on a particular page and you see all the figures and the accounting on one side, look up to the left and it'll tell you on that page what they're talking about. Okay, it tells you other main things. So if you want to know about high school programs and you're going to be at 1131 high school programs, and that's going to be that top category. So they just correlate like that. So if you get home and you want to look at it, that's how it lays out. Okay. So on special funds, and then on the page where it says special funds, there's a list of all the special funds by their number there. Okay.
So if you guys
them up to.
want to look at that, everything through 249 is federal. So 209 to 249, those are all federal grants. And then from 250 up, those are state grants. Besides 298 and 299. So if the federal government cuts a bunch, the ones that they'll be cutting will be from 209 to 237 as well. The ones that say historical, we don't have anymore, but they have to show up on this because you have to show this year or what you think for next year, this year, prior year, and the prior year. So if they're on any of those years, they have to be.
So you said 209 to 249 is federal?
Federal. Yeah. So those are the ones that are up in the air. So I didn't increase any of these federal grants. I kept them just as they were. Because they didn't give us any estimates on those. And all the school districts were doing something different. Some were cutting, some were adding 4%, some were adding 25%. And I just said, I'm just gonna keep it status quo and then we'll see what happens. So,
That was on the federal part they're doing like.
yeah.
Yeah.
You guys can, 209 is not very big. We have a little bit of an alt ed teacher in there. 210 is our biggest federal grant that we got. That's the Title I grant. And we have a teacher in there and a reading specialist and then 0.9% of an aid. So. The IDEA program, 212. We have 1.69 FTEs of aid. 219. We don't have. 222.
Oh, 219 was one that went away a while ago.
Yeah,
What do you think?
well, they could give it to us if we had anybody in preschool that fit there, but we don't have anybody right now, and so they don't give us anything. But it looks like from history, they didn't give us much. $1,000.
Wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 222, the REAP grant, we've got a little bit in there. Of an aid. The 225 was the small rural schools. Back, we've got a little bit of an aid in there and a little bit of all dead.
So June. We don't know when they'll know.
I'm
June
expecting
30th was for state.
June
June
30th.
30th is when we have to have a budget approved.
before June 30th, we have to have passed the budget and yeah,
Those are ridiculous.
so. Yeah.
A lot of times it's not until August or September before we actually know what we're doing.
So, and it goes in a, what they call a biennium, so it's 2 years. So this year is gonna be up in the air, next year is gonna be what it is. So next year will be a lot easier one to look at.
Yeah.
But this year's painful, and the beginning of the biennium, from what Sarah told me, is always painful, but this year's just a little more painful.
Yes. Maybe from their gambling over that's something.
I don't know, they might.
So 231 is historical, 237, I put a little bit in there. We're kind of getting mixed signals on this Carl Perkins grant. It sounds like it's getting spread thin, and they even said that they would have to charge us. So I'm like,
Well,
I don't know if we're gonna be
Yeah.
participating in
That
this.
doesn't seem like a great grant.
No, it's through the High Desert ESD, and they usually pay for like subs, like when Cameron took the kids to COCC, and they paid, well, you didn't take them, but you subbed it all up, and we had a sub that day for one of the teachers that went with them, and they paid for that. And so, and they'll pay for subs when the ag teacher goes to their quarterly meetings or semi meetings or whatever. And they'll pay for a sub for that. And so I thought, oh, they're just paying for sub, and then they sent Gail an email that said they might have to start charging us. So I was like, for what? So, I mean, I can see where they stopped paying for the subs, but I don't know. We'll see. We might have to stop that. So,
So on the federal grants, the way it kind of shows, it's like 3.5 aid positions and 1 full-time. Is that about right?
for all of them,
Yeah.
yeah. And then 248 is historical, not anymore, 249 historical, not that anymore. And that was the ESSER grant, that was the big one, that's why our grants down by.
That's the one that they, implemented during coronavirus. Remember during all that, we got a bunch of stuff, supplies, equipment, whatever, to help get through that. But we knew that wasn't gonna last very long, so we did not put people in that on purpose because we didn't want to touch anyone. So that was just stuff, but it was a large amount of money, so that does affect our bottom line.
And then we get into the state grants, student investment account.
Sorry, if we were to lose federal funding and some of the positions, like say the one with a full teacher in. I know the state makes it difficult for us to get rid of teachers, but if we were to lose funding for a teacher, that'd be an exception to we could cut the position.
I think you could.
If you can't pay for it, then that should be a pretty good reason.
Right, yes. I'm not sure I'd like to lose that position, but at the same time, I think your question was, can you, and my answer to that would be, I would believe so. If you can't pay it, we're not paying, we haven't paid for that for years. That grant has been in place for years, years and years. And years. And I would think if the funding goes away, then the position goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else was I going to say about that? Yeah. And that is a significant concern to me because that's one whole person and one whole person's job. So that's, it's not a, I mean, it's enough, dollar amount, but it's also a person. And it's kind of like here, like you said, if we lose a person, we lose the program. If we lose that person, we lose that program. So yes, I think there's.
Okay, and then we've got the state ones, 251. It's one of our bigger ones. We have quite a few on there. Half-time elected elementary teacher, that's the ag classroom. 0.15 of culinary, so that's the one credit hour a day of 7th and 8th grade culinary class. Meat lab, extra duty contract for the ag teacher. And then behavior specialist. We put in some budget for the student Chromebooks. If there's extra, we have that in the list of things. If there's extra money at the end, then we can buy Chromebooks out of this grant, and we will be buying some this year out of this grant. So put in some more for next year. And then technology services, so that's a technology person and also a lot of hardware, software licenses.
Currently, right now, do you have enough Chromebooks for every student?
Yes,
So you're just talking about updating
yes.
or
Some of them have been repurposed a lot. Some of them are pretty bad.
He's really good at repairing them. Like
He's very good at
repairing.
But he was hoping, so this year, he's gonna buy a few of the nicer ones, the touchscreen ones, which are for the first kindergarten and first grade. And then, hopefully, have a few of those that are a little nicer, that we have money for this year. And so next year, he may not have to buy, new ones of those type anyway.
roughly how much, what kind of percentage does he, or do we have to replace every year?
We have to replace first grade, usually, 5th grade, and 9th grade. There are 3 replacement cycles where they've had them for, well, kindergarten, we don't count because kindergarten kind of keeps theirs for quite a while. They keep that same program for a while. But the replacement cycle is about every 4 or 5 years.
Because they move forward with the kids, right?
Yeah, they move
Yeah.
forward, they move forward. They move
So they
forward.
keep the same Chromebook for 4 or 5 years?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
And then we replace them, yeah.
And of course, some kids are harder than others, and that's why they have to pay the insurance.
Yeah.
But we don't make the elementary kids pay the insurance. is that
No,
right?
because they don't take them home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the high school kids. Yeah.
So do most of them last the 4 or 5 years, or is it?
Yeah, some do, some get pretty bad. I've seen some.
Yeah.
Even if they break a screen or something like that, Nick can repair that. He's very good at repairing, so he's able to keep a lot of them going that maybe some other books wouldn't be able to, which is nice. So.
So
He does what he
year,
can.
do you lose 10% or less?
Lose, like have. to-
Like they,
as-
if it doesn't work, not repair.
Yeah,
Completely not repairable.
the thing is, after 4 or
Uh-huh.
5 years, the technology is behind, yeah. they're-
Yeah.
They don't support it
So-
anymore. Yeah.
But usually they make it to 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the elementary side, because they do keep them in the classroom, they don't take.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Middle schoolers are very hard on. They
yes.
get better.
And the
They get
insurance
high
part
school.
is actually goes toward, is it
Yes.
actual insurance or just that's Nick's fee or?
It goes into a fund and you'll see it.
Yeah,
in here.
it's more of a
And-
tech fee, and where we use that for like replacement costs.
Yeah. So like any
repair costs.
parts. he-
so it's not like an outside.
It's not like an
insurance
outside
policy,
insurance,
No.
like your
An
cell
house
phone or-
fund that you use to
Yes.
repair or
Repair.
replace.
Yep,
Yes.
yep. They call it.
Just trying to make the students a little bit of accountable. on
Yes.
what-
A little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, they've gotten away from calling it that, it's called a tech fee.
Yeah. Then the next one's 252 high school success. That one has Alt Ed, part of Alt Ed teacher and also part of the Ingenuity, the online program that we have, half of it comes out of that grant. And then we have summer school. And this part of this budget is just for July through September. So next year's summer school is not in here yet. They haven't absolutely. They gave us 4,000 something to spend by June 30th, and then the rest of it to spend after. So this is the rest of it.
And this is the same fund that we've been, this is year 5 on running this summer school program. It's the same one that we've had since we started.
And the Edgenuity, that's like online school. How many students are enrolled?
Well, it's our alt ed, and it's also like our, it's like foreign language.
Foreign language and credit recovery.
Yeah,
Options.
credit recovery, yeah. 261 is old. 271 for literacy grants. And we are changing that one up a little bit this year. We're gonna have more time with yeah, Amy Fortune, the curriculum
Instruction specialist.
from the ESD. So she'll get to come up a little more. She has the kids.
She does.
So,
How much more time are we getting for her?
we have another day.
I think so. I think they're planning on having her come up another day. They're still working on her schedule to see what they can do, but I told them that we would take her as much time as they could give us for that amount of money. Like I said, however much time she has, because she's really good, and it's less expensive for us to have her come and compete with our teachers than anybody else, and she knows what she's doing. And she can coordinate, with the other gal that we're having come, and we're paying for out of early literacy, but, yeah. We're just incorporating her into this because they're giving us so much extra money.
Right,
We
they're
have
giving us
money to
another 20
spend.
grand on this one.
Yeah, so
We
it's
would
like,
like in other places.
yeah. So that's what we're gonna do. And my other idea for that too is I've mentioned in board meetings before that literacy grant is gonna get pretty heavy on accountability and reporting. So one of my thoughts was if we took some of the extra money that we're getting, put it into her, she can come up and help the teachers and offload a little bit of that burden off of them, help them with that data reporting piece, because she knows how to do that too. She knows what we're doing here. She knows our school inside out, backwards, upside down. And she could help the teachers with that, support them, and so minimize that impact on them as much as she possibly can. So that was my thinking on that. So they're still working out a schedule. How many extra days, hours, I'm not sure yet.
And then 278 is the pre-kindergarten program. And that's the grant that we've had, and it just keeps rolling forward. And we probably have another 3 years. So after this year. And that's the preschool. 290 is special fund, so this is more grants, the small kind of grants that we get from Eastern Oregon Ren. The classes that the teachers get to take, they pay again for subs when people go. So I put their subs costs in here and then I build in. And 94 is historical. 296 for pathways, this one just keeps getting smaller and smaller. This helps out with our FFA program. We buy jackets and stuff with a small amount to help the kids that, can't afford them and stuff. And then we also use a lot of it for student travel. So that's where it goes. We had 8,000 something before last year. This year, we only got 7,100. So next year I just put 6 because I don't know. I think more and more schools are trying to get their share of the pot. So ours just keeps getting smaller. Then we have the Chromebook fund, which is where the Chromebook tech fee goes. And then the school lunch program. And we always have to transfer money in the school lunch program every year. It's usually around $48,000. But again, next year it's gonna be more significant than that.
So you transfer 40,000 into it?
Mhm.
And that's to offset what the Fed and state
Don't cover.
don't cover. And most of that would be wages,
Probably.
And
not
the,
necessarily the cost of food.
Not necessarily, but also the cost of food a little higher than what they're paying. us.
We're in an odd location, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Our vendors.
yeah,
And
it is.
they come and go.
they do, and sometimes it's hard to even get a vendor.
I know Paisley was having a really hard time.
Yeah.
And they called us and they're like, okay, so Cisco doesn't come to you guys, right? So if you guys use US Foods, could we get on the same? And we're like, Cisco comes to us. They're like, you, but I think it's because they go out to Christmas Valley and something like.
They cut the southern route because I know Summer Lake Lodge used to get food
Yeah.
from them and they got
Yeah.
cut out.
So the school and. So we're kind of lucky that some of the other stores out here use Cisco. Otherwise we'd be hurting.
yeah, well, we gotta feed kids, so.
We do. Yeah, a lot of, yeah. It's a lot of money.
It is an expensive program, though, I will say that. It's good, but it's, with food costs and everything, it increases for sure.
So that's all of our special funds. Then we go into debt service. So this is the one that I was talking about at the board meeting. So next year's principal and interest will be $271,400. In order to get that money, this is where we have to ask the county to tax our property tax people that live here, whatever, to get us this money to pay for this bond. This is where the mistake came in last year. So, we are gonna have to ask for, 347,000 this year from the county, ask the county to charge the taxpayers. And then hopefully next year that'll go down. But in order to make that payment and catch up from the mistake this year, then, and also from people not paying their taxes.
What the mistake was, what, last year?
So we budgeted for a certain amount to pay that, and then the actual form that goes to the county, there was an error on it. It didn't increase, and so it was the same as the prior year. And so the county didn't know, and they just, that's what they asked.
So that's
they
where
were
you see
short.
on the 2022, 3 and 23, 4, the difference with 289 and then 149.
Well,
It's even worse than that.
yeah,
They basically didn't charge.
they
last
didn't
year.
charge the right
Because they-
amount.
We had paid part of the bond back with extra money that we still had. And when that payment went in, they zeroed the balance.
Right.
And thought we had paid it
So,
So
off.
the entire
So-
bond off,
Okay.
and it was like 60,000. Or
Well, because there was because on our tax statements, we
Yes.
didn't get charged either.
Yeah.
Correct.
And out more.
Yeah, and this
tax
year he was saying like,
And so
yeah.
then it was just,
Well, we did pay it last year.
Yeah.
yeah,
But this is, so that's a different,
Yeah.
Yeah.
different problem. So there's two problems.
Okay,
One was theirs and one was ours.
so that
So
one was theirs, right?
that one was
Yes.
theirs and that was
the big,
last year. This year that we're working on right now, when they put in the form in July to ask the county to pull those taxes this last November, and we're still gathering in some of that. They copied from the year before, and so they didn't increase that number. And so they were $31,000 short of what they asked the county to bill. So we have to catch that up this year. We have to catch that up. And then this increases, this goes up. And then also people aren't paying their taxes like they were. We're expecting like a $28,000 shortfall this year on people paying those taxes. So in order to get where I think we needed to be to make this payment, I'm gonna ask for 347,000. So that'll be
Well,
more.
it takes like 5 years.
Well, they aren't even doing that. The auction isn't happening, not until, they said at least 2027. There's no auctions going on. Oh, nope. Because some sort of a lawsuit with the state or something. So,
Oh.
because Sarah was looking through and she's like, why are we not sales? You know, usually we get around 25,000 in sales or whatever. So she called the county and they're like, yeah, we're not doing that. So there's no auction on the county sales line for at least another couple of years. All right, capital fund.
That's why people aren't paying their taxes. They're not gonna sell my property, why pay my taxes?
Exactly, and I think that's probably what's going on for part of it.
Yeah, very well could be.
Yeah.
That's expensive, you know?
Yeah. So the bus replacement fund, we have a beginning balance in there and then we'll move some money in there, the 129,594, that'll come in from the state school fund. That's the amount of depreciation on the buses on the bus barn for next year. So we move that in here and then that helps make the payments on the buses that we have payments on stuff.
So
And also to keep some money in case we want to buy another bus.
it says currently lease payments for 3 buses are being paid out of the replacement fund and no
Yep.
more being planned.
It says one more planned, but we haven't planned another one yet.
We've talked about it, but honestly, I think Jewel is just happy leaving it right where it is for now and not purchasing another bus yet. And I'm okay with that, but I think for next year, we need to look seriously at that. We just make a conscious decision about that every year. Are we gonna get a bus or are we not? Our buses are in pretty good shape right now, so he's comfortable or not, but I think next year we'll look at that, Mike.
So what does it mean by lease payments?
Well, so Santander is who we have do the payments through. It's more of a purchase payment than a lease payment, but
Okay,
somebody's
so
gonna.
you're not technically leasing the buses, you're
No.
purchasing the buses through a
Yes,
financial.
yes.
And we paid one of them off this year.
And,
Yes.
and what's his reasoning for waiting a year?
I think he wanted to get an idea of what he has and
Yeah.
what he needs and.
Yeah.
You know,
And we had
not,
pulled ahead and approved purchasing a bus earlier than we thought we needed to because we were trying to get a diesel before.
Right.
That was where my question was going. I mean, isn't that coming to an end?
Mhm.
Like you can no longer order?
Well, for like 4 years now.
Keeps getting pushed out.
And we
And we
already
keep pushing it out just like everything else?
Yeah.
And we already ordered an extra one for the mandate that we didn't really need just because
Right.
we wanted to get it.
Because we had planned for that for quite a few years prior to that, because the date was 2025. So we had planned for that. So we feel like we're in pretty good shape as far as buses go at this point in time, because we did plan earlier. Purchase one and needed it. So,
Jubel's not terribly concerned about it anyways, though, because I guess with the maintenance issues they're having in the new diesels with all the emission stuff. You don't get as good a fuel economy with the gasoline engines, but the maintenance cost is a lot more, and so is the initial purchase price.
Right, no, I get that. They're coming out with new technology for that all.
Yeah, so he's not as concerned
Cummins is
about,
making gas motors now for crying out loud.
yeah.
That tells you something, right?
yeah,
So he's less concerned about trying to squeeze another bus in before the diesel goes away.
we've already had conversations about when we had conversations with board level too, about after that last diesel bus, we'd be going to gas. Because, and that's where we're headed, and I think he's comfortable with that as well, too. The next bus we get will probably be a gas one, we just don't need it right now. But we'll look again next year for sure, because we do not want to get behind on our bus purchases again. We're in good shape now, we don't want to get behind.
And I think he found out we were able to repurpose one of our older buses that's pre-emissions that we can't legally use for routes. We thought we were gonna have to decommission it. But we can actually still use it for activities bus, which is great because even though it's one of our older buses, it's one of the most reliable buses. So we
Is it one of the bigger ones?
I think it was an 84 passenger, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't have to decommission that, which is also helping us stay caught up.
So we can have emissions
Right.
problems if we travel from Pioneer Valley, but we can't just drive around here.
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
it's more peace of mind that it's not gonna break. down.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Have an emission problem, you know.
Well, you spend more time on the route class than you do on the activity.
You have to take some of the placards and stuff off, which has some costs associated with it.
All right, and then the next one is the general building. Reserve. We every year have been putting $100,000 in there. And then I put in, again, if we don't budget for it, we can't spend it, so I put some money in there to spend, we may not spend it. But it's there in case we do need it. For building stuff, improvements out of the building and preschool equipment, so.
So is this like where the hot water heater and stuff would come in,
Yes.
come out of? I mean,
Yes. Anything over 10,000 per piece or whatever. So, yeah, and the hot water heater will be around 50. And then the next one is gold, smart gold. Get that page. Then we're on to 665 unemployment compensation. We are self-insured. And they've passed some new laws where people can get unemployment at different times. And so we're going to make sure we keep enough money in that fund in case a bunch of them decide they want to do that. So
You're talking like during breaks and things.
summer breaks. Teachers know, but others could. So we want to make sure we keep the money in there. So far, it hasn't been a whole lot. I just got the quarter invoice for the first quarter of this year, and it was only $668, but that was only 2 people. So if 10 people decide they want to do it, you know, that'll increase. And we're on to the fiduciary funds, which is just funds where we go for somebody else for scholarships. So that'll come in the form of donations and then we'll go back out and scholarships. And then we have our student body funds, which those should come in real often.
Anybody have any questions on any of that?
want to go on the scholarship funds?
Uh-huh.
When you guys are tending to those, what do you do for investments on those?
We don't, they go into our local credit union here, so whatever our interest rate is. There's no investments. It's not a huge amount of money. So I don't know if we can get much of an investment. It's
There's no investments right now.
right now we have, I think, $3,000, $4,000.
It's all pretty short term.
Yeah.
You don't have-
It comes in during the year. It usually comes out of teachers' paychecks and goes in there every month, and then in May we write a check out to whatever school these kids go to.
Should we be looking at putting, I know we've had a lot of conversations about our track surface. Should we be putting money aside somewhere for the eventual replacement of that? Additional from what we already got, I mean, I don't,
I would wait to find out what our
what our actual.
numbers are gonna be, because right now we're looking at digging into our.
Quite a bit.
400,
Yeah,
well, probably more than 350,000. And I don't,
not this year.
well, once we know something, we can.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know.
Yeah, and if you wanted to start a fund for that, you could. Just for that one item, because it's gonna be huge, as you know, it's gonna be a sizable amount. And we haven't forgotten about it. We've had lots of conversations about it, but right now we just don't feel as things as they are. It's time to pull the trigger on that one. It's gonna have to happen within the next year or two. Yes, and we need to start planning for it and do that. We already know we're gonna have to do it. For that, you could, you wanted to budget money for it over a couple of years, you could do that. If you just wanted to pull it out of contingency, you could do that. You could probably talk to the foundation, see if they want to run point on that like they did when that was originally built. If that would be something that would be helpful. I'd have to look into that and ask someone about that. If this is what we're doing, is this an appropriate function for that group at the time?
When you say sizable, how much is?
700,000.
Probably 750,000.
To resurface the track? What was it, what are they supposed to last? And how long are they supposed to last when you,
A lot longer than this one
If
is.
they were done
Yeah.
properly, we wouldn't be talking about it.
What was the problem with this one? Is it a rubber track?
They didn't put near enough on.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like 10 millimeters and most of it's 4 to 5.
Yeah.
So they put them out.
there's no reciprocity on the company that installed it? Maybe you can't go back on them?
No, we can't now, but at the time, they did withhold, what, 10%, 10 or 12% of the payment, final payment, because they didn't do a satisfactory job in the contract. He had the option to do that, so he did do that. They were not paid the full amount because he couldn't get him to, they came out and checked it, but he couldn't get him to do anything about it. They just wouldn't.
Doubled down and said, no, it's fine.
Yeah, they insisted it was fine, it wasn't fine, so it was one of those deals, but he had the option of withholding payment, which he did, it's about all he could do. So we've had it, we actually had an estimate done on it a couple of years ago, and I have the samples of material on my desk in there still. And there may even be a different option by the time we get around to doing it, because that material and all that changes all the time. Which we would certainly need to look into that and see what we want to do with it, but yeah, it needs major work. And I honestly don't know, depending on the company, Mike, or how they would apply it, if it can go over the top of what we have, do they need to peel it off? I think they're
They gotta-
talking about peeling it
They
off,
gotta scrape it off.
yeah, so I
Well, there's a couple of like humps too.
kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
it's.
Is that in the asphalt or in the rubber?
The rubber.
Yeah,
It's come disconnected from the,
What was the initial cost of install? Does anybody know?
gee whiz, and I have that paperwork in there, yeah.
I think the, yeah, the resurfacing is costing more than
It
the
is.
original.
Yeah, because underneath that rubber layer, it's very, smooth. It was beautiful asphalt, like out on the parking lot. It's not concrete underneath, it's asphalt.
scrape the rubber off, run on the asphalt.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that they go down to that, and I don't know if that's
Yeah.
fucked up or not. I don't know. Like what we were talking about, if that's just because of rubber, because the asphalt's doing
Is the
something
rubber
different.
less damaging if you fall? Is that the reason, or the better times? Why rubber?
Well,
It's just
It's
way-
better to run on,
It's
yeah.
way nicer.
It's
than
softer.
Yeah, well, yeah,
You'll
yeah.
have less shin splints, less
Yeah.
foot injuries.
It feels a little better than asphalt for some reason.
yeah.
Oh,
Has a lot more,
So-
if it's the right depth, has a lot more give.
Is it worth getting a quote to get like just a redo? I mean, it seems like if it was only half that cost to have it installed in the first place.
I can't imagine it'd be cheaper to have new asphalt.
No, I mean like the whole new track surface instead of just resurfacing it.
Yeah, that's what
That's
that's.
what-
Oh, okay.
I think partly it's, oil prices are up and all that.
Yeah, seems like everything having to do with petroleum is, you know, way up, double maybe, so this doubling doesn't surprise me, sounds.
Well, and we went with the low bid the first time, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what we had.
Kind of
Mhm.
maybe bid us a little bit as well.
Yeah,
But it was like the same surface as YT has.
Yeah.
There's been there for 15 years. Still
Mhm.
good, so, I mean, it should have been a 20-year deal. So.
But I would say, yeah, when we're talking supplemental budget, once we know our numbers, then yeah.
Yeah, that's what we talked about last year, we're starting to set aside, you know,
Yeah.
50 to 100,000 a year. And hopefully be able to make it last for 4 years, and then we have a chunk of change set aside to do it.
And if we come out in better shape on this than what we expect, then we could do that if you want to.
Get timber money too that we never did get.
Right.
Well, we.
Well, I was just gonna ask
still
that
could
question.
get that, but
That was about 70 grand, wasn't it?
It was 118,000.
118.
Didn't get this year.
Yeah.
Cause I heard rumors that it was supposed to be in good shape and more for this next coming year than.
We haven't heard anything yet, so hopefully, yeah, because we've talked, the Lakeview business manager used to work for the county, and she's the one that, she's in the know on all that, and she, last week came and told us, still haven't heard anything, still not passed.
So why
but
didn't
could
we-
Still passed, but it hasn't yet. So we don't think we'll get the payment in May that we normally get, but we could get it later. They could go back and pay it. Like if it doesn't happen till next year, they might still go back and pay this year's amount. We don't know.
So why didn't we get it? What is?
It's part of the package that didn't, the federal government, when they met in January, didn't
Oh, it's
pass
part of
their.
that.
Yeah,
Now the federal government is saying that they're gonna open up logging on 60%.
even if they do, if they don't pass this law again, it reverts back to the 1908 law, which only gives us like 10 grand. So it gives, what it gives us when it reverts back to that old law is what she told us is that it takes the whatever sales in our county, so it'd be like partly Deschutes National Forest and Wainema, Fremont. And it takes those and it takes a certain percentage of them, and the county gets that certain percentage, and then the road department gets 75% and the schools get 25%. And so our portion of, she looked at what the sales were this last year, which again isn't when they've opened stuff up, we'd get about $10,000 compared to the 118 with
It
the,
seems like we used to get,
I think they had a lot more sales. So yeah.
yeah, I mean, it seems like that number used to be like 40 or 50 something thousand, or even as high as 70, I think. I can't remember. Cause
Well, they expected 118 this year.
what's that?
We expected 118,000 this year, but.
As our 25%?
No, this is a different law. So.
Oh,
So the budget that they're moving forward with the law right now, and I couldn't tell you when it passed in the 90s, sometime, whatever. They were given more of that money to the local schools in the county or whatever. Well, then, when they didn't pass that budget in January, that reverted back to the old law. And the old law is the one that gives us 25% of whatever the sales were, percentage of whatever the sales were for in our county. So,
But if they'd actually have timber sales, then that would change.
and that number would go up, yeah, because, yeah, they didn't. That's fair. So,
well, they left, I don't know how many millions of board feet up in the
Yeah.
bootleg,
mhm,
they just let it rot.
mhm.
They didn't sell it.
Well, it's gotta burn again. Gotta have smoke in the summertime. How you gonna know it's summer?
It's already smoking and been, they're starting to prescribe burns. They're doing the China hat burn because it's gonna burn
It's
sooner or
gonna
later
be bad,
anyways,
right?
because it's the county's way of, Deschutes County finally figured out how to evict the China hat residents. Light it on fire.
Move to another spot.
Well, the thing is, eventually there'll probably be an accidental fire, you know.
There's already been some. The one in Lapine was a.
Dirt world or whatever they call it.
Yes,
Red.
yeah, I mean,
When you have
yeah,
houses.
yeah, we're not. Yeah,
Really?
so guys,
Fun house.
again, they're gonna know good numbers till after we have to have our budget approved. So it is up to you what you would like to do, but I can't see us knowing anything good before our deadline. So if you would like to approve the budget that we have here. We have 3 recommended resolutions.
And if we come early June, also get early information for some reason, we can always come back and revisit it,
Yes.
even
Yes,
though,
we can.
even though we approve it tonight.
Yes, we'll have to have another, it'll be a supplemental thing and I'd have to put another add in. Budget.
But if we don't approve it tonight, then everybody's gotta come back at some time.
Yeah.
To stamp this.
That approve it anyways with probably about the same amount each.
Yes.
That we have now.
Yeah, our suggestion is to go ahead and approve it as is. It's got, you know, everything in it that we need. I think we can cut back some. And then depending on what the revenues come in at, then at that point we can even cut more if we need to. But I just can't see that happening till, I don't think we'll know till August.
When does our request have to go into the county?
June, we have to have everything passed before June 30th. And then we have to have the request into the county by, I think, the 15th of July. So. And the problem with that is there's only board meetings once a month. So,
So typically what this is just more of a protocol process than really actually helping Monica and the board figure out where to make cuts or whatever, if we don't, you know, if we think we're gonna have a shortfall or whatever. And I mean, we haven't passed it in years prior on the first meeting, and we've gone back to the second meeting, but it does, and those were all the years where you guys really need help. You know, hey, we're gonna have to cut like 3 or 4, you know, teachers, positions, whatever. Hopefully we don't have to come into that case, and
I hope not to.
it's really their job to figure it out anyway. I mean, but we have to have public input on it, and that's why we're the committee. So it's kind of, I guess, ironic, I don't know, but anyway, I'm good with passing it, but
By June 31st, we're still not gonna have any better information, is that right?
No, I don't think so. From what they were telling us, sounded like July last
And
thing.
there's no way to redo after you?
Yes, oh, yes.
yes,
Well,
yeah,
that's why-
we can,
that's why
and
we're
we
gonna
have,
supplemental.
Okay.
we have done that,
For this
we have done that.
in August or September. It sounds like.
Basically, we could pass it now and limit our time here. And then reconvene.
Yeah.
Once we know what the numbers.
Which
And
will need to.
that's what I
It's always nice to just even have a review, even if we don't have to make all these big, you know, I'm pro for having a meeting in the fall, just to review it and see, you know, this is what they, you know, this is what we thought, and this is what they did, and this is what we're gonna do. Just so you know, because then when you come back around the following April, since this will be the second part of the biennium, we'll be, you know, better set for next year.
I think I like the idea of going ahead with what we have here and the knowledge of the way it's been set up. And pretty understandable. And we won't know anymore, so I say go ahead with it and
Should we try to schedule a meeting for like mid-August? Or? just-
Well, I didn't know how that would fit with you guys. But how about you, I mean, we can reach out to you guys once if we get,
Or even in September, I mean. if you-
yeah, I was thinking September,
Yeah.
but
I think you probably wait till you get information,
and then we can schedule. Yeah, I would hope in August. That'd be awesome for me because that's before school starts. But
Yeah, I would.
But I don't know if we'll have the
Yeah.
art of.
That might not happen.
Yeah.
By August. So.
Yeah,
Are you guys okay if you agree to pass it tonight as is? Are you okay waiting until we hear whether it's August, September, somewhere around in there, and then scheduling a meeting as soon as we know?
That makes
Comfortable with
sense.
that or not?
Yeah.
Because we really don't know what to tell you on that.
We've only done it, like I said, in the long period that I've been on this committee, we've only done it a couple times in the fall. Where they've actually gone through and say, hey, this is what we got from the state and feds, and
Right.
just kind of go over it. And usually it's when there's a huge crisis, but I don't know, what'd you say we were gonna have full 400,
yeah, I don't,
350 to 400?
according to this budget, it's 450, but I think honestly that, I think we can save at least 100,000.
Yeah.
and that's where we're pretty fortunate. So
Yeah.
A lot of schools sitting here
Yes,
not knowing if they can make it January.
Yeah, there's a lot of schools that don't have a cash carryover that can just absorb it, you know,
Yeah.
and. You know, even if you absorb it 1 year, that doesn't mean you're gonna do it the next year, especially on a biennium situation.
Well, and we put this budget together to make sure we still roll forward about 4 million, so we'll still have 4.
Yeah.
So that's 30%.
So that was kind of our goal, is to budget close to the number that the state gave us, 11.36 billion. Not over, budget at that number, because that's all we know now, and even that's not completely solid, so that could change too. That's the number that keeps popping up, and then stick with this, adopt it now, because we're not gonna have solid figures before June 30th. And then as soon as we know, whenever we know, after that, then we'll have another meeting, then we'll have more solid figures and come back and be able to say, okay, here are the adjustments that are getting with this budget, and then we can provide input at that point in time as well. There's no other way around it. We're gonna have to, we have to have a budget to turn in by June 30th, which could be this one, but doesn't mean one we have to operate on. It won't be when we get other figures. So that's kind of how that's gonna go. But I was gonna say, after Monica and I talked about this and planned for it, we tried to go the lowest figure possible, the 11.36 billion, and then kind of do, I guess I'd say, worst case scenario, and if you want to call it that, in terms of we didn't add anything extra, but we didn't lowball it either, because we want to make sure that we have enough in there to cover. And if anything, if we have to do anything, we can recoup some funds rather than have to go deeper. And then she tried really hard to keep the carryover at 4 million, which she was able to do. So that's a plus. I think all in all, it's the best we can put together for you tonight. Do we like it? No, but it's all we can do right now with the information that we have. So
And what's our enrollment currently?
it is,
216?
yes,
And what was it at the beginning of the year? Do you remember, Janet?
It was 228, 227.
yeah,
Been right in the 220 zone.
yeah,
Here on that, here.
Yeah. pretty steady.
That's pretty average for
Yeah.
like the last 15 years or more.
Yep, if you look at that chart that we have at every board meeting, just.
But I see that they've changed the weighted part quite a bit. That seems to be a higher number than what we've normally. I'm just going off of memory. You could tell me I'm completely wrong, but I was
I think
thinking
we
that
may be able to
ADMW
qualify.
used to be in the 300s.
We have to qualify.
We've got more pretty reduced ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So
Just the lunches did
I
that?
mean, no, that the low income
Right,
gives you that extra half a weight,
Mhm.
whatever.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand how all that works. I was just trying to figure out, you know, how much it's changed in the
Yeah.
last, like, say, 10 years.
And you'll notice that we're still at the 80% transportation. We're actually at 88%. If you want to get down to the specific, but they only go 80, 90, they only go by 10, so. That's at 80. That's the usual.
That 217, is that total enrollment or is that just regular attendance?
Total enrollment.
We generally pick up a few in the spring, so.
Yeah, I was just curious if it was,
So we
Kids
always start,
slacking off
we always
this
start
spring.
high in the fall.
Yeah.
And then they start dropping off right around Christmas. And so kind of between Christmas and like February, March, that's when we tend to have our lowest.
Mhm.
And then kind of here in the spring, you'll see, well, the spring, it's kind of a crapshoot. Sometimes
We
it
get-
dips, sometimes it dips again, but sometimes you get a whole bunch of enrollment. in
It's up
spring.
and down
Yeah.
in the spring. Because of the agriculture.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then it's spring, they come back in because there's farming jobs available.
That's right.
Okay, so we need a
So page 12.
formal,
Guys wanna look? Page 12, at the bottom, there's 3 resolutions.
If you're gonna get to make a motion, like this is what she's doing.
There's 3 things we have to do. See at the bottom, it says, it's on this one that has the budget summary.
Opposite.
Oh.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So at the very bottom, there's the recommended resolutions. We have to approve the budget. We have to, say what our taxes are gonna be and then also say what our levy for the bonds.
Those three resolutions are one
There are three.
separate
Did we last year
resolutions.
say it all in one?
I think we
It
did.
was all in one.
Yeah. So I've got, the motion would be to approve it as presented in the amount of 12,306,691. And then 619 is what? 619. Oh. Right.
Yeah,
Reverse those. And then the rate of 3.855 per 1,000 of assessed values. And then levy a tax of 347,000 for debt service on general obligation bonds. Is that correct? That's correct.
So moved.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded to pass the 25-26 bond as stands at 12 million, blah, 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 and tax rate of 3.855 and the levy of 347,000. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries.
Very much.
We will do our best to
We'll get
keep
back
you
to as soon
informed.
as we, hear anything.
To be continued.
Yeah.
Settle for this business?
That is it. That's it.
Adjourned.
Thank you. If any of you guys, Roger, Stacy, any of you guys want me to explain that page on the budget?
It's worth the explanation, just so you understand the ADMW especially. Because it took me a couple of years to really figure that one out. It's actually your brother that really